Hello folks, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about air layering. I'm going to show you how exactly I like to air layer my trees, and then another way that you can also air layer. Alright, so we're going to be needing for this project is going to be a little bit of sphagnum moss. This moss you can actually buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. However, you don't necessarily need moss. I'm going to show you another way to also air layer the trees, but I feel like this technique is actually a little bit better because we do have more roots growing throughout the whole entire process. That moss, you're actually going to put it in water and you're going to let it sit there for a few moments so that it can actually suck up as much water as possible, and then you're going to get this type of texture. You would also be needing a little bit of strings. Zip ties can actually work too, but something that you can actually be able to untangle so that you can check on the root system would also be great. And then you need a really nice, sharp, sterile knife. So what you can do is that you can add a little bit of heat to clean it up, or you can also use some rubbing alcohol. You would also need some plastic. Now this plastic is kind of tough, and at the same time it's clear, so I can actually see if there's any roots growing at the moment. And pretty much what you want to do is that you want to create a line pretty much almost the same size of the thickness of the trunk. So this right here is kind of like thumb thick. So what we're going to do is that we want to create a line about that size right there. You can probably go a little bit more, but I find it better if you go in like that. After that, you're just going to go in a radial form on both sides where you make the cut. So, like that. And after so, you'll be able to just peel off the canyon. And what I also like to do is that I try to open it just a little bit over here, because that's pretty much where the roots would also be growing. Just want to clean it up a little bit, show some of that green. The next process is adding a little bit of root hormone. Now this root hormone you can actually just get like a Home Depot or any local garden center. However, I feel like adding this root hormone is not necessarily necessary, but it definitely helps out a lot. What you want to do is that you pretty much just want to rub some of this into the tree, and you can pretty much use your finger, use your brush, but be careful and make sure that you do pretty much wash your hands right after this, because it's right on the label that it's actually quite toxic, so you don't want to consume this. Alright folks, so what to do next? So we're going to grab our plastic bag, and then we're going to pretty much grab some of that sphagnum moss and then squeeze out as much water as possible. You want to be able to have it like a little bit damp, not too much water though, because I feel like it can also root to the trunk. And you're going to place it like this. Of course you can add a little bit more if you want to. I like to preferably just like try to cover as well as possible. Like that. And now that everything is covered pretty well, like that, we're going to go ahead and just pretty much wrap it. Wrap the whole ball. Grab your cord, cut it to size, and then just wrap it. Try not to strangle the branch too much too, because that can also prevent the flow of nutrients towards the branch. But then again, most of that is going to be obtained from over here too. So I like to have this ring, like I said again, because I want to be able to remove it and just be able to check on the roots. But since we're using also a clear black bag, you would also be able to see if there's any growth, because the roots actually grow pretty well, and then they start wrapping around the bag. All right, so what we're going to do is that now we're going to be doing the same steps on the other one. All right, folks, so now that we have both of these air layers done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you exactly how the other procedure will also work, where you don't use fungal moss and you use only soil. All right, so I don't know the exact name of this tree. I know it pretty much as the Chinese apple. Whew. Let's show you these. And looks like we have some rotting here, like some moss was growing. So that I can actually just clean it up and then, you know, put it in some trees for show. But let's see, I want to remove a whole lot, but I feel like I need to pretty much clean this out because, oh wow, it ate through the tree. Remove all of this right here, and that's pretty much the bowl that we're left with. Alright. So ideally what we can do right now is pretty much put it in a pot and then let more of the roots grow a little bit better, because we do want a healthy tree root, and I don't want to tamper with it too much. So I'm going to try to have more roots grow from over here. And then as soon as everything feels a little bit better, I'm going to pretty much start working on the Navari. But as for now, I just pretty much want this root system to get better before I actually begin doing some serious work on that root ball. And once again, I'm using my finger because I don't want to damage it too much. You know, this is, I think it's pretty fragile since there's only like one really big feeding root. I'm just going to mix it in with the same soil that was in there. Alright, so now that we have worked on preparing the root system over here, what we're going to do is that since there is a little bit of some bottom feeding roots, we're just going to use pretty much the same exact moss that was growing there, and we're just going to add it here just to keep the humidity level adequate, like that. Put it a little more towards like the sides because that's pretty much where most of the root system is. And pretty much, you know, moss just pretty much propagates really well too, so I'm hoping that it will spread out. I'm also going to just add a little more, but this is mainly once again to cover some of the roots that are just sticking out. Yeah. Alright, so the next step is that, as you folks can see, it's quite big. And that might be troublesome because the root system is quite small for the whole entire thing to be able to live like that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go ahead and print it back down. Here. There. It's too long, so and there. Now it looks a little more like a starting bonsai. I say no worries, you know, it's early spring and it has enough time to recover. I'm just going to go ahead and clean out these cuts over here. This right here will be my new leading branch, and then since there's two of them branching off over here, it's going to be totally fine. This one's already weaker now, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off. But right here, we're going to start a new ramification system. Same over here. These trees are really good at budding back, so we might actually expect more branches growing off in each direction. The fruit that it gives is a really nice, kind of dry Swedish apple. and I personally love it. So I wouldn't mind having a little tree that provides fruit, and also the fruit is really small. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with this little one over here. Like I said before, I'm a really fan of plastic containers, especially this little training pot. It's made out of plastic, so I can actually reuse it a whole lot. As you can see, it's really old. So I might actually just sand it off and add a little bit of oil so that we can bring it back to life. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is what you get from cutting, and as you can see, it's the quickest way for you to get like some decent trunk, and then without having to wait to get a nice bonsai by digging it on the dirt or whatnot. I hope you folks enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of off from what I've been doing lately, but I wanted to show you folks how I also like to propagate my trees. So if you folks have a neighbor that has a nice looking tree or branch that you want to aerate, go ahead and ask them. It doesn't hurt to ask, and then you'll be able to have a nice little tree. Alright folks, if you folks like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.